Few comedians have left a mark on television quite like Benny Hill. For decades, his energetic performances, expressive facial reactions, and fast-paced physical comedy entertained audiences around the world. His television specials became a cultural phenomenon, reaching millions of viewers across dozens of countries, while his work would later become the subject of debate as public attitudes toward comedy evolved. Benny Hill's journey to fame is also the story of a hard-working entertainer who spent years developing his craft. Long before he became a household name, he worked a variety of ordinary jobs, served during World War II, and slowly built a career through determination, creativity, and an unmistakable comedic style. Understanding his early life and career provides important context for how he became one of Britain's most recognizable television personalities. Early life and family background. Benny Hill was born Alfred Hawthorne Hill on January 21, 1924, in Southampton, Hampshire, England. Growing up in a working-class family, he experienced a fairly ordinary childhood, but entertainment was never far from his roots. His father, Alfred Hill, managed a surgical appliance business, while his grandfather had worked as a circus clown. Although those professions were worlds apart, the family's connection to performance left a lasting impression on young Alfred. Even as a child, he admired comedians and performers who could make people laugh without saying much at all. He attended Taunton School in Southampton, where he showed little indication that he would one day become one of television's biggest comedy stars. After leaving school, he worked several different jobs, including positions at Woolworths, as a milkman, a bridge operator, a driver, and even as a drummer. Each role introduced him to different types of people and situations, experiences that would later inspire many of the ordinary characters featured in his comedy sketches. Military service and the discovery of performance. Like many young men of his generation, Hill's life changed dramatically during World War II. In 1942, he was called into military service and joined the Royal Electrical and Mechanical Engineers, where he trained as a mechanic responsible for maintaining military equipment. During the war, he also worked as a truck driver and served as a searchlight operator, supporting Allied operations in Europe. These duties demanded discipline and adaptability, qualities that remained with him throughout his professional life. Toward the end of the war, Hill transferred to the Combined Services Entertainment Division, an organization that staged performances for British and Allied troops. This move proved to be one of the defining moments of his life. Performing in front of soldiers gave him invaluable stage experience and helped him develop confidence as an entertainer. It also taught him the importance of timing, audience connection, and visual comedy, skills that later became the foundation of his television success. Finding inspiration and creating Benny Hill admired many of the great comedians of his era, especially those who performed in Britain's famous music halls. These lively theatrical shows mixed comedy, music, dance, and variety acts, creating a style of entertainment built around broad humor and memorable characters. One of Hill's greatest inspirations was American comedian Jack Benny, whose calm delivery and flawless comic timing impressed him deeply. Wanting to honor his idol while creating an identity of his own, Alfred Hill adopted the stage name Benny Hill. The new name reflected both his admiration for classic comedians and his ambition to build a lasting career in entertainment. With experience gained during the war and inspiration from the performers he admired, Hill began pursuing opportunities in radio and live performance, determined to make audiences laugh. Building a career through radio and early television, Hill's first major breakthrough arrived on October 5, 1947, when he appeared on the popular radio program Variety Bandbox. Radio was one of Britain's most important entertainment platforms at the time, and the appearance introduced him to a much wider audience. His quick wit, lively character voices, and natural comic instincts made him stand out. Radio also taught him how to create humor using only dialogue, sound effects, and timing. As television began growing in popularity during the 1950s, Hill recognized its enormous potential. He made his television debut in 1950 and quickly realized that the new medium allowed him to combine verbal jokes with exaggerated facial expressions and physical comedy. Television gave him complete freedom to experiment with visual gags that simply weren't possible on radio. These early appearances laid the groundwork for a career that would soon transform British television comedy. Expanding his range as a performer. During the 1960s, Benny Hill demonstrated that he was far more versatile than many people realized. He appeared in a variety of television productions, often portraying completely different characters from one episode to the next. His ability to transform into dozens of personalities highlighted both his acting ability and his remarkable flexibility as a performer. In 1964, he surprised many viewers by taking on the role of Nick Bottom in a television adaptation of Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream. Sharing the screen with respected actors, Hill proved he could comfortably perform within a classic theatrical production, while still bringing warmth and humor to the character. Around the same time, he returned to radio with Benny Hill Time, a BBC program that blended topical humor with clever parodies of popular culture. Whether spoofing famous films, celebrities, or current events, Hill showed a sharp awareness of the changing entertainment landscape and an ability to adapt familiar subjects into light-hearted comedy, creating memorable characters. One of Hill's greatest strengths was his talent for creating unforgettable recurring characters. Figures like Fred Scuttle and Harry Hill became audience favorites because they represented exaggerated versions of everyday people. Fred Scuttle, with his unusual speech and eccentric behavior, brought a unique charm to many sketches, while Harry Hill embodied the lovable but clumsy everyman who often found himself in ridiculous situations. These recurring personalities gave audiences familiar faces to look forward to and helped establish a strong identity for Hill's comedy. Rather than relying on a single style of humor, he combined slapstick, wordplay, impressions, music, and visual storytelling into performances that appealed to viewers of different ages and backgrounds. The birth of The Benny Hill Show. Everything changed on January 15, 1955, when The Benny Hill Show premiered on the BBC. Inspired by Britain's music hall tradition, the program combined live studio sketches with pre-recorded comedy segments, musical performances, and clever visual sequences. The flexible format allowed Hill to experiment with different comedic ideas while constantly introducing new characters and situations. He worked alongside talented performers including Patricia Hayes, Jeremy Hawke, Peter Vernon, Ronnie Brody, and writer Dave Freeman, whose contributions helped shape the show's distinctive style during its early years. Among Hill's most memorable collaborators was Jackie Wright, whose perfect comic timing and expressive reactions made him an essential part of many classic sketches. Together, the cast developed a fast-moving style of comedy that relied heavily on visual humor, energetic pacing, and exaggerated situations rather than lengthy dialogue. International success and lasting popularity. A major turning point arrived in 1969 when The Benny Hill Show moved from the BBC to Thames Television. The transition brought higher production values and a new format built around hour-long specials instead of weekly episodes. The longer running time allowed Hill to create more elaborate sketches, larger musical numbers, and increasingly imaginative visual comedy. During this period, the show expanded far beyond Britain and was eventually broadcast in more than 140 countries, making Benny Hill one of the world's most recognizable comedians. One of the program's most famous trademarks became its fast-motion chase sequences, filmed using an under-cranking technique that made movements appear unusually quick when played back at normal speed. These energetic finales featured an assortment of colorful characters running through parks, streets, and public spaces, while lively music played in the background. The sequences became instantly recognizable and remain closely associated with Hill's comedic legacy, even today. A changing comedy landscape. Although The Benny Hill Show remained enormously popular for many years, the entertainment industry was gradually changing. Comedy styles that had delighted audiences during the 1960s and 1970s were increasingly viewed through a different cultural lens during the late 1980s. As public tastes evolved, critics began debating whether certain forms of humor still reflected modern expectations. While Benny Hill continued to attract loyal viewers, discussions surrounding changing audience preferences became more common. These broader cultural shifts affected many long-running comedy programs, not just Hill's work. Regardless of the differing opinions that emerged in later years, Benny Hill's influence on television comedy remains significant. His creativity, remarkable physical performance skills, and ability to entertain audiences across language barriers helped shape generations of comedians. His journey from an ordinary young man in Southampton to one of television's most internationally recognized comic performers stands as a testament to persistence, imagination, and a lifelong dedication to making people laugh.